Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's Brave Cat here once again with another Frontier Signals update. So we're looking at a pretty quiet period given all the recent deep activity and the sunspots and whatnot. So there's still a lot of potential for things to be going on, but it just so happens a lot of those things seem to be holding back. Got a couple more anomalies here. Major one today in the data, looks like. And all these SDO feeds are still completely stuck on the 27th, so there's pretty much nothing going on there. And we'll look at that on the NOAA. So looking at the far side sunspot image, it looks like this pink region on the far side has been breaking up and potentially decaying. I don't think we've been seeing any far side eruptions, but then again, I actually haven't looked at this yet. So let's just take a look here. This is for today, and it's looking like there's nothing going on there. Let me just check the last go, because it's a little bit easier to see if anything happens on here, because there's a lot more contrast. And it looks like everything is pretty much dead quiet, even on the far side. So that's at least a good thing, but I will say, once these active regions here in front make their way somewhere past the Earth-facing side here. So once these get over to the right side, and then that'll mean that these sunspots, which looks like there's a couple more forming that have been put on here, then we're going to have pretty much at some point, just like how we had a moment of no sunspots, it looks like we're going to have also another moment where we have nothing but sunspots facing us. So even though there's nothing going on right now, per se, there's again still going to be a lot of potential coming at us, and that also definitely means for earthquakes as well, because yet again, there hasn't been anything major in this entire region, or really anywhere, for that matter, but we've still had all the deep events that have happened, and then there's also a new deep 6.3, so that is going to be pretty significant as well. So that's pretty much about 600 kilometers right there. Pretty deep, and when we had another 6 happen here, just like a couple days later, we had a slightly bigger, more shallow 6 hit over here. Or actually, I think it was like a 5.8 or something. A deep 5.8 causing a shallow 6. Either way, so we still haven't seen the deep activity fully resolve yet, but we do have, yet again, a bit of an influx in at least the ash emissions, it seems like, for volcanoes, so we do have a bit of a shorter list. Now there's still, these are all technically the ones that are erupting and in warning, so this is basically the same list that we've been seeing, but just in terms of what they actually put on here. So we have some weak emissions, but then also some stronger ones. And so pretty much all of these that are more detailed here are going to have some sort of ash plume coming from them. So when I see volcanoes that actually have a description, I guess I'm just assuming that these are the most like prominent eruptions for the day. The most like well-documented ones anyway. Because there is a lot of regions where there's cloud cover, there's not necessarily a whole bunch of scientific stations around, you got some really far and remote places, and there's even some underwater volcanoes where pretty much all they can really see is like thermal imaging from some of those volcanoes. So I pretty much just try to rely on the ones that are actually listed here to see what the most actually documented prominent sorts of activity is going on, so we can actually look into what's going on so far for the second going into some areas here. So we still have Vanuatu on the list, Indonesia, Ecuador, Guatemala, and Peru. So there's still some volcanic ash emissions coming out of those, and other than that though, things seem to be potentially just continuing to build up. And on the west coast, so we had a bunch of stuff going on over here, and now it seems like that pressure is arriving in the United States. So we do have a couple of 4s in here actually, so just drag that up a little bit. There has been an increase on the general tremor stacks in the same areas here. We do have 2 similarly sized 4s going across the plate, so those are definitely going to be related to pretty much the same seismic wave that has come across and dropped both of these off from the same thing. And we see that exact same phenomenon over here in the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, except these are similarly sized 5s spanning a very large distance, but they are definitely related. So it would be kind of uncharacteristic or kind of unlikely, I would say, to not have something significant happening, especially along the West Coast. Nothing completely devastating, but at least something significant to be going on here with everything else that has happened. And taking a look at the tremor map again, there's absolutely nothing to report on here. And the earthquake map for the Pacific Northwest, they do have some of these reported here, including a couple of 3s. So we have been just slowly escalating in the past several days, going from 0s and 1s to 2s and 3s, and now we're getting into the 4 range here in the United States. And seeing one over here, I mean, this is at the border of Nebraska and Kansas. And yeah, so this is a pretty rare location. I looked it up, as you can expect, just a bunch of farmland over here. There's actually not even any drill points or anything like that. So still a pretty interesting earthquake, I guess, for that region, because that doesn't really happen there too often. And it is a 4. So that's pretty much what we got going on across the board. So things are, I guess, even in terms of what I've been up to with some of these things, a little bit of a slump here, just getting things more or less organized, developing different ideas, kind of bouncing ideas around between some other people. But hopefully there will be a lot more stuff happening here soon. Got some ideas coming along here. I've got a video that I want to edit. So I do want to still somewhat integrate certain things in the video game realm on this channel, but it'll be a little bit different, and we'll see how it goes. But right now I'm editing a video that I'm making about Deadlock, which is Valve's newest upcoming release, and it is just chock full of, like, not just mystical and occult symbolism, but just straight up, like, demonic stuff too. And so, you know, I'm just going to kind of call that out and see if I can do a deep analysis on some of the symbols in there and whatnot. But other than that, there's nothing else really for today's update. So I hope you all enjoyed. Please like and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you all in the next.